More Heart Than Talent Radio.
Jeffery Combs, president and founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. The term putting out fires is a very interesting term because that's actually what has been happening in my city today. My city had a fire and a lot of the electricity was off in my city. And I've been adapting and adjusting to life with electricity, which gives me a lot of respect for all of those of you who have gone without electricity for more than a day, a week, and some of you a month. So I know many of you live in Florida. Some of you have lived in other states, South Carolina, and then of course the situation that happened in New Orleans in 2006. So a lot of respect for those of you who have adapted and adjusted and have gone days without electricity. So I am in the flow in the game here. It is my absolute privilege and pleasure to be here with you on Tuesday, More Heart Than Talent Facebook Live. A few quick announcements. We'll move into the inspirational portion of today's live. Myself, Chris Shar, and Ray Cataline are in the process right now of putting together the new Facebook page and group, Jeffery Combs Sobriety Consciousness. That group will be available in the next couple of weeks. I'll also be looking for founding members. So if you have more than 1 year of back-to-back sobriety and you would like to be a founding member, you can send me a message. Now, and what is back-to-back sobriety? It's whatever it means to you. There's no like real black and white guideline because I relapse occasionally myself emotionally. So you determine what that means. You have a level of pride and dignity about it, and we'll accept you as a founding member. It's going to be a phenomenal opportunity. It's going to be a group of like-minded people from all around the world that are coming together that fosters being able to stay present in the moment, being able to be in a high level of consciousness. It's also be sobriety, recovery, and many, many ingredients that will allow you to live a good life. So I know that many of you are very proud, aware, understand of your present circumstances, and I'm very proud of you for living in the present of it. Now, this Saturday, I have the absolute privilege of being in Billings, Montana with Beth Henning. Last Saturday and Friday night, I was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Now, if you've never been to Portsmouth, it is a beautiful New England town right outside of Boston, about an hour. I was with Abby O'Neill, a really up-and-coming future multiple 6- and 7-figure income earner. She's already a multiple 6-figure income earner, but someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for, who hosts events with me frequently. So Abby, thank you very much. So I'm in 2 weeks, I'm in a 2-week period. I'm in Boston, flying Boston Airport, and I'll be in Billings Airport this Friday. And if you've ever been to Montana, I absolutely suggest you attend one of my events up there, take a vacation up there. Bozeman, Missoula, Whitefish, Glacier National Park, Great Falls, multiple places, and Billings. So I know that I'm going to step off that plane. I have an expectation. I'm going to step off that plane and I'm going to go like this. Oh my God, because I've been there many times. I cannot do justice to the term majestic because that's what it is like there. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to have Joe DiBianca and Scott Aaron attend one of my events there, and they still mention that experience to me. So that is this Saturday. I'll be in Billings, Montana. As I move into the month of May, I'll be in St. Louis, Missouri, which unequivocally is one of my favorite cities in the United States. I want to thank Tiffany Albertson, who incidentally, Tiffany's husband and I went to college at Northwest Missouri State University. We're on the same campus at the same time. I vaguely knew him. He was a rock star baseball player, football player. And then I would be coaching Tiffany 30 plus years later. And then Kimberly Lovelace, who is from Farmington, Missouri, which is outside of St. Louis, is the host of that event. So I'm very, very inspired to be in one of my favorite cities, St. Louis, because I bleed cardinal red. So I'll be right there. And then later in the month, Cara DeSico is going to, Cara DeSico Sandre is hosting me in Tarrytown, New York. That's the White Plains Rye region. And that's going to be a beautiful opportunity to connect with some great people in the New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey areas. That will be May 18th. Then later in June, I'll be in Chicago, Illinois on the 22nd, and I will be in Greenville, South Carolina, not Spartanburg, but Greenville, South Carolina in July. If you would like me to speak for you, with you in your city, contact me on Facebook, in Messenger, or you can send me a text on my cell phone, 209-649-1414. 562. That is my cell phone that I do receive texts on. And also, if you're seeking a 20-minute coaching session, seeking insight, wisdom on cause and effect, why you do what you do, then let me know. Now, with that, let's move into the inspirational portion of today's call. 2 weeks ago, I covered closing, and closing really means finishing. It's the art of the start that shows up in a finished product. So if you're making a set of cabinets and it's unresolved or it's not finished, well, that would be another one of the open loops that many people do. What many people do is they start a project and then they have shiny object syndrome and they move on to another project. They start one business. While starting one business, they start another business, because that creates a neurochemical high called shiny object syndrome. It gives you the art of the start, but the compensation is going to come from being able to finish projects, to complete projects, to commit, to decide, to follow through, to follow up. And if you have challenges with that, then there's a high probability that you're a chronic starter or a chronic avoider. Now, for you to be able to close a sale, it's going to be your responsibility to learn the inner game of selling. And selling is not inviting, it's not sharing. Selling is being able to present products, benefits, features, and services, attract qualified buyers, understand who can commit, who can't commit, understand language and communication of a non-committal person, and then be able to detach from an outcome while creating results. Now, that is not a contradiction. Here it is: detach from an outcome while creating results. The term detachment is very misunderstood by a large percent of the population. Detached doesn't mean you don't care. It means that you understand where to devote your time and energy. And if you encounter someone that's angry and they want to provoke you to argue with them, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in that emotional loop, explaining, validating, and justifying yourself, well, that's what detachment would mean. It means that you no longer the mind-body connection to the events that keep you in unresolved issues. And an unresolved issue is either a repressed or a suppressed feeling that you either don't understand because you don't remember, have suppressed it, pushed it down, or suppressed means that you know you do it, but you don't know why you do it and you keep doing it over and over. That's what many people do to stay in a place called anxiety, fear, and doubt. Now, as you're moving into higher levels of consciousness, separating your feelings from the events, you're not the mind-body connection to the events that shape feelings. Now, my students say to me, I heard you say that so many times and now it clicked. I heard you say that 10 years ago and I never really understood what you meant. Now I'm living it. Now, what does that mean? It means you're not a mind-body connection. It means that when the body runs the brain and someone asks you a question, you cross your leg without even knowing you did it. That means your body's running your brain. That means that in an unconscious situation, your body relapsed back into a set of familiar feelings. If someone asks you a question and your iris goes up and out, and the first sound out of your mouth is followed by a preposition well, there's a high probability you're going to tell a story or relate to a past event and bring it into the future that's not even related to the question that's asked. And when you're also a skilled communicator, orator, speaker, writer, and understand predictability, you will see that many people don't answer questions because they're not paying attention, they're not listening, they hear what they want to hear, and they tend to tell stories. Now, in understanding closing sales, it's imperative that you understand the difference between a suspect and a prospect, between a qualified buyer and someone who's committed versus someone who's interested. So you can devote your energy and time, or it's going to be a win-win situation, or results will be created either through you with your product and with your product, services, benefits, and features, and your customer, so you don't feel rejected, abandoned, resentful, discouraged, overwhelmed, in any multitude of emotions that keep you in anxiety, fear, and doubt. As you begin to have a better understanding of the selling process and understand that sales are being able to present, ask, and commit, then you'll start to create more commitments. But if you're not really committed to the process, if you're interested, then it's going to be challenging for you to ask commitment questions. A commitment question is a yes-no question, and it's also a trial-close question. A commitment question also can be an open-ended question when you ask someone, if you owned a business, what would be the reason you would want to own it? Why would you want to own a business? Why do you want to improve the quality of your health? That's a more open-ended question versus, Are you committed to changing the quality of your health? That's a closed-in question. That's a yes/no question. And the other question is a question that it can expand in communication and conversation. Now, on the psychology of closing, there's 5 keys to closing a sale. That is the content portion of today's call. The first portion, number 1, is leads. Leads and the value of time. So if you have more leads than time, then there's a high probability that you're skilled at creating leads. And the way you become skilled at creating leads is repetition and experience, creativity and innovation. Many people ask me, how do I get leads? Well, you don't get a lead, you learn how to create them. And you create leads by branding, marketing, selling, writing content, advertising, Facebook ads, flyers, newspaper ads, postcards, door hangers, referrals. I could give you hundreds of ways you can create leads, people that you know and know of, bump into, 3-foot rules, surveys, any multitude of situations that I have used over the course of my career. How do I approach people? Well, first of all, you don't approach people. Someone that you feel, you have a sense of feeling about or an intuition about that may be a qualified prospect, you ask them a question. Well, many people go, well, what do I ask? It's not what you ask. It's a system of questions in sequence that you ask over and over so you can create repetition and experience, creating a term called auto-suggestion, meaning that it becomes autonomic, automatic, I'm here, I'm now. And in that type of communication, there's no abandonment, there's no rejection, you're not overwhelmed, you're a professional, and you understand what you get paid for. You're not umming, awing, thinking, processing. There's not gaps and delays in your communication. You're fluid, you're solid, you're steady, you're unemotional, you're unattached, which doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself not to get attached and not to make it about yourself. If someone rejects you, if that's what you say, they rejected me, then you've personalized it. You've made it about you. When you say, I haven't, so I can't. I haven't released weight, so I can't. These products haven't worked for me, so I can't. I haven't made any money, so I can't. That's how many people personalize the situation, then take themselves out of the flow of the business, the conversation, the opportunity, any multitude of situations that creates avoidance tendencies. If you're a chronic avoider, it means you approach and avoid. You walk up and then walk around. You walk up and walk backwards. It means you're not in any centrifugal energy where there's an undertow or momentum created where you're constantly moving forward in your emotional state. And moving forward really means not so much forward, it means elevating the energy so that you're a lot more open. You're free. You're not anxious. You're not in unresolved stories. You're not worried about an outcome that hasn't happened. You're not focused on getting in trouble. You're not focused on failing, and you're not worried about succeeding. You're not trying to control what hasn't happened. You're right here and you're right now. And this right here is going to be your non-dominant ear if you're right-handed. That's your left ear. That's how you're going to hear. That's your inner ear. So you can hear what's meant, not what's said. Someone says, yeah, Y-E-A-H, I'll get back to you. Trust me. So when someone says that, first of all, I don't trust them. I don't get paid for trust. I get paid for results. You can write that down. I don't get paid for trust. I get paid for results. Now, the reason someone say, trust me, is because they don't believe what they're saying and they want me to trust them. It's not that they're not trustable. I trust the process and I understand predictability. If someone has to tell me to trust them, then I'm not going to trust them. If they weren't concerned about trust, they wouldn't spend this time asking me. To be honest with you, have you ever heard anyone say this? To be honest with you. Why do you have to edify being honest if you're honest? I mean, that means you doubt being honest. That's what happens to many people. That means they're telegraphing their own uncertainty. So they're telling you something they don't even believe, expecting you to believe it because of their own uncomfortability. So when you're uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable, you're going to get attached to an outcome that never happens because you actually expect them to follow up with you or them to be there when you contact them or whatever the story you hold on to. Now, when you start to understand facts, and the fact is a lot of people aren't committed. They're commitment phobic. And you also want to learn to let go of price points. Well, my product's too expensive. Well, not necessarily. You want to be able to showcase the value. People are cost conscious, worry about cost. They don't focus on value. How much is your coaching? Well, are you more concerned with the value or the cost? If the cost is great and if the value is great, if the value is great enough, does the cost matter? Now, when you start to let go and you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings, now you're separating yourself from unresolved feelings, unresolved issues, and you can be right here. Not a laser focus, but a relaxed focus. That means you're in a state called presence, and you're able to adapt and adjust easily and effortlessly. You're able to read a situation for what it is. You're not overwhelming yourself because you need this situation or your life's dependent on this one situation. If you require someone else to validate you, to fulfill your feelings, or if you require recognitions and rewards to fulfill your feelings, that's confidence. Self-esteem is not dependent on confidence or recognition or reward. Self-esteem is its own perpetual love. Self-esteem is not dependent on any outside influence. Self-esteem is not dependent on anything. It has no dependency because self-esteem is independent. Self-esteem is love, and when you transmute from that type of love, love of the game, love of life, love of being where you are, and being grateful, and most importantly, being able to accept where you are. Acceptance is a key skill that you learn to master. I mean, you might not be where you are, where you want to be, but you can accept where you are gracefully without putting pressure on yourself, prospects, teammates, or expecting someone to perform to your set of circumstances. And when they don't, you're disappointed. That is called codependency. When you over-obligate, enable, do more for others than you would do for yourself, then typically what happens is you get discouraged. You get disappointed. So in the process of leads, it's going to be your responsibility to have a systemized approach to creating a lead, qualifying a lead, asking for the commitment. This can be done through text, instant messenger, any multitude of multimedia forums, but it means you're asking, do you see the value? That's when you're qualifying the prospects, you're qualifying the leads, and you're doing this in a sequence that you can do over and over, where you create a level of comfort so that you're not creating rejection and abandonment stories about events that haven't happened. I don't like the word no. Well, seldom in the English language does someone use the word no when they're not committing. They'll say, I'm not interested. I'll get back to you. I want to run it by someone else. I want to talk to them. Naturally, I want to talk to someone else. And you'll hear these objections over and over. An objection is not a rejection. An objection is a non-commitment. It's a future tense potential purchase that sometimes does and doesn't happen. A rejection is much more personal, where someone's putting it on you. And you'll seldom encounter that. And if or when you do, you learn to neutralize it relatively quickly, detach from the energy, and move on to either the next prospect or the next project without lingering thoughts about what you did right or wrong. And as you're able to separate your feelings from the events, then you're not holding on. Then you're not making yourself wrong. You're not making someone else wrong. You're able to be ITF, in the flow. Now, whether you're selling paintings, like one of my clients, Elvira, or whether you're selling dreams, like my friend and client, Diane, or whether you're selling products, benefits, and features, or whether you're selling products that assist people with medical conditions, it doesn't matter what you're selling. What matters is that you're comfortable in being that person who's the go-between between the product and the consumer. And when you're able to take yourself out of the equation and meet people where they are, then you're not overwhelmed or you're not anxious about situations that haven't happened. And it's going to be your responsibility to understand that even though your product could change someone's life, or your business opportunity could be the solution or the answer to many people's financial challenges, not everyone's ready to receive. And if you're open to receive, if you feel worthy, if you're comfortable, and you know you deserve to be and stay successful, then you'll eventually be able to attract quality, like-minded success seekers, or people who seek to enhance the value of their life through products, services, benefits, and features. And there's a difference between an addicted buyer, an addicted shopper, and a qualified buyer who's actually seeking what you have. And it's also important that you don't say to yourself, my team keeps falling apart. Well, a team doesn't fall apart. There's attrition in any team. Any sports team right now is in the process of signing up new players. They have talent scouts. There's drafts. They're always looking for talent. I mean, they're always looking for more leads. They're looking to have more leads than they have time. Baseball has the deepest farm system of any type of professional sports. The NHL hockey also is a farm system. They start with what is called juniors. And it's not uncommon for young boys to be prepping to be NHL players. And golf is a solo sport. Tennis is a solo sport. Golf and billiards is a solo sport. Bowling is a solo sport. Team sports, there's a constant recruiting process. And as you become a skilled recruiter, you're also in the process of learning how to ask the questions about the outcome that will allow you to fulfill the results that you are seeking. And as you're able to be in that space, now you're able to close more transactions. Now, if you're in a business, you're in business, number one, for profit. Now, you may tell yourself, I'm there to help people. Well, that may be a benefit, a feature, or whatever that is. But you're really in business. If you have an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, an LLP, you're in business to create a profit because it's your livelihood. And you want to have more leads than you have time, a systemized approach so that leads can go through a process so they can create an intelligent decision about the benefits, features, products. They can evaluate the business model. That's why you use videos, webinars, presentations, one-on-ones, two-on-ones, three-way calls, any multitude of situations where you're in a position where you present and ask for a commitment. Now, if you're uncomfortable in that process, you'll either avoid it or be very ineffective. And until you let go of your control, your anxiety about the outcome that hasn't happened, then you'll be in an anxious, overwhelmed state with gaps and delays in your communication style, where you'll and then what you're doing is, I don't know what to say, I don't know who to be. Well, that's in a mixed message. And even though that this is all brand new to you, you can master this in a relatively short period of time. And as I look at some of my clients and friends on the call here today, there's Jonathan Mason. Jonathan, good to see you, my brother. Jonathan used to be a college soccer player. I coached Jonathan early in his career. He's a top-tier insurance professional. I watched Jonathan go on to achieve multiple six figures a month. Diane, good to see you today. Nicole, good to see you. Diane Levy, longtime client. Lisa, how are you? LaDonna, good to see you. So there's many of you on here that I've had the privilege of coaching, collaborating with, associating with, being friends with, and I want to thank you for everything you have done with me as I've been able to be with you. Jonathan says, always a pleasure. And he's a young man. I watched him early in his career. I mean, he came to Breakthroughs back in 2011 and 12, and he sent me a message last year letting me know what has happened to his life and his career as a top-tier insurance professional. And that's what you aspire to become, a top-tier influential person. I mean, person first, and then top tier, whatever that means to you. It's just a term, but really what it means is my best. As you seek to become your best in an unoverwhelmed state, in a relaxed body, the energy that you emote and transmit comes from passion, love, joy, experience, understanding, empathy. You can put this all in one package, and it means I'm not pissed off at myself or others. Now, I used to get accused of being intense. And I could feel my teeth grind at times, and it would be an emotional relapse back when I wasn't good enough, and I'd put this pressure on myself. Then the prospect would feel it, and then the prospect at the last minute would come up with some miraculous excuse, and they wouldn't deliver. Now I am upset at them and myself for not being good enough. This is very, very ineffective communication. I know that I'm in the process of recovery of that, and you have that opportunity too. Understand this, closing a sale starts with making your bed. Now, what does that mean? It means that making your bed is the first task you either complete or you avoid. And if you're a chronic avoider, you will find other situations to avoid throughout the day. The laundry will stack up, the groceries don't get done, the mail gets stacked in a pile, you kick one shoe over here, the other shoe over there, then you can't find it. You don't put your keys in the same place, and you can't find them, then you're behind, you're always late, you're always overwhelmed. Now, I understand. Many of you have children. Diane Hughes Hunt has children. I know that Nicole Hawkinson has children. These are exceptional women and clients I've coached, and they do very admirable effort at being moms and business owners in a very relaxed body in a process. It was not overnight. I mean, it's a process, and it's a process of letting go. It's a process of recovery, discovery, and then purpose, meaning, and cause. And as you really start to move into that space, meaning, cause, and purpose, you'll attract your reality, quality, like-minded success seekers. You will attract your reality, the opportunity that you've been waiting for. You'll attract your reality, the mentors that you were seeking. And you'll also start to bring closure to the process. And that's what closing is. Closing isn't just closing a sale. Closing is a finisher. It means you begin a finisher. And you take pride and dignity in a lot of what you do so that you can finish projects. You don't leave what are called open loops. And these are just some of the keys to learning how to be a closer. But there's so much more depth underneath closing that you apply everywhere in your life. It means you finish, you wrap up, you complete, and you start to sit back and you go, I accomplished that. I feel good about that. And that gives you more of a sense of purpose about who you're being and what you're doing. My name is Jeffery Combs. I'm the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. I look forward to connecting with you this spring and summer in the beautiful year 2019. Thank you for being on today's Facebook Live, and I'll see you at one of my live events or here next Tuesday. You have a great day.